accidents are terrifying experiences. You're hurt, and you need someone on your side who understands. Call the Advocates. They have over 20 years' experience with accident cases and have recovered settlements for hundreds of other motorcyclists. They can handle the medical bills and deal with the insurance company so you can focus on recovering and getting back on your bike. The Advocates are my motorcycle attorneys.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, happy Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. A pleasure to be with you, friends. I'm sure that you guys today were like, I wonder what Monty's talking about on the Monty Show, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. Did you guys see there was another big rig accident? Right on the 15 freeway, closing the 15 freeway, connector thing, complex and stuff. Look, I love all our big rig drivers. You guys make the world go round. But if you get in an accident with a truck, you guys, you got to get to theadvocates.com. They are your experts. They know exactly how to handle your insurance company. And again, I'm begging you. And I think, have we all not come to this agreement on the show that insurance is a scam? Insurance, as I am telling you, as surely as I sit here, insurance is a scam. You never think about your car insurance until you need it, and then they're going to nickel and dime you on everything. Oh, do you have a receipt for that car? Oh, you don't. Sorry, it's not covered. Like, that's the kind of stuff you wind up arguing about. Let the Advocates take all of that consternation. Let them take all of that insecurity off of your shoulders so you can get back to the best version of yourself. If you've been injured in an accident with a big rig, you've been hit on your motorcycle, I'm telling you, give room, respect the space of motorcycles on the road. The rider on those motorcycles is so vulnerable. Please be careful. Please drive defensively. But if you find yourself in an injury accident, not your fault. You didn't deserve to be in that accident. You do deserve an advocate. Theadvocates.com, or you never pay out of pocket. In fact, you don't pay unless and until the Advocates win your case. Good morning. Let's do some shout outs before we get into it. Mike Smith, Mountain Mama, I did another radio interview yesterday on a northeast portal of these United States radio stations in upstate New York yesterday. And all they wanted to talk about is Neil Brown needs fired. West Virginia. I actually talked about Mike Smith in a radio interview yesterday. I said this hillbilly with a flea-infested beard ravages my comments section every day, and I sing him a song.
Okay.
And I do. Mike, always average to see you. San Diego State Glen, same thing. Ryan Smith's receding hairline. I was at a Bravino Hall, downtown Salt Lake City last night.
We show up.
Listening to some amazing Rachmaninoff. Wondering if a Bravino Hall will still be there a year from now. Because Ryan Smith is getting huge tax breaks and probably it's one of the buildings he wants to knock down.
Yeah.
We don't need the arts in our community, do we? Hit the like button. Hit it like it's Bakersfield last night and you're an earthquake. How about a 5.2 last night in Baco that matriculated down to the Southland? I miss earthquakes. That's probably an asshole thing to say. I miss earthquakes. So good morning to you, Glenn. Hello, Pete Forte, Matt Ritson. Hello. Mike Smith, have a good day, you sophisticated hyenas. I got a dental appointment. Does anybody have Invisalign? Might be getting Invisalign. Probably not. I'm broke. Preston, hello. Nathan John. Why do you have two first names?
Come on.
When you go to prison, is that guy? When you go to prison, Nathan John, and you will. I swear to God, if your last name's a first name as well. How many bodies are in the backyard? Nathan John, Steve, Tom, Kevin. How many? I'm playing college football 25 dynasty mode with the University of Buffalo. The University of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Just lost to Michigan 7-6 in the playoff. I feel like they knew what play I was running best. 7-6. Your offense, high octane there. Mr. Preston, hello. I have the articulating power hydraulic arm thing sitting on my kitchen table. Preston's my personal mechanic. Mr. Preston, great mechanic. Right here in Salt Lake City. And the power liftgate arm thing is broken on my Jeep. Just doesn't work. So I bought a new one. Doesn't mean I'm putting it in. That came out wrong.
Yeah.
Jay Chapman, good luck. The Buffalo Hunter, Jake rocking Ute Red today.
Well, actually, it was more of like a Georgia Red because this is an SEC.
This is a Utah show. This is a Utah show. You know that. I know that.
Right.
James, the stadium guy who loves Preston Stone's phallic eggplant. Happy Hump Day, Monty Nation. I have to read the entire comment or James is going to need a wellness check. I'm so happy we get to talk about my other favorite team. Go Frogs, TC. This is the thing I don't understand. We have actual, real, tangible stuff to talk about today. And here you are, as an Okie State fan, an SMU fan, a Baylor fan, a Dallas Cowboy fan, and now somehow, some way, DF Dub's own TCU, hello, Tuskegee State.
Show up.
You're a TSU fan now. Okay. Guys, did Michigan cheat? No. I don't know what you mean. Giggity, hello. Thanks for your service. Daniel Dixon, hello. Hope Iowa's treating you well. You're right. The Ute Red looks good on Jake. Okay. Lopes fan Gabe, a member of the show for 19 months.
Damn.
Let's go. Gabe, hope you and Little Lope and Mrs. Lope are well. Future doctorate of ministry student at TCU. I'm sure you are.
God bless.
Speaking of TCU, what should the NCAA do to Michigan? This story won't go away, and I'm here for it. Like it is a fillet of fish without bacon. I'm here for it. Did you see that Spike Dykes' kid, Sonny, who coaches at Oak State James' beloved TCU, did an interview yesterday where he talked about how he was well aware that Michigan was cheating when they were getting ready to play. What was that? I guess in 2022. Dykes finished his thought by saying, I think sign stealing is pretty common in college football, but I think that Michigan took it to a different level. So we made a couple of changes. It wasn't anything earth-shattering, but we made some changes to protect our offense and defense. I think it certainly helped us, and I don't think that we would have been able to win the game had we not gotten some of that information. Spike Dykes' kid, Sonny Dykes, talking about the fact that coaches around the country who he spoke to in preparation for the college football playoff tilt against Michigan warned TCU that Michigan was sign stealing and that they knew their offensive and defensive signals. And it just goes to show you the most poorly kept secret in college football for 2 years was that Michigan was stealing signs. And I think what this is from Sonny Dykes, I think is this outing Michigan? I mean, to a certain extent, but I think this is everybody, I think people are tired of Michigan, again, denying, defending. It's indefensible for Jim Harbaugh to stand up there the other day and said, I had no knowledge of this. The entire country knew what you guys were doing and you had no knowledge of it. To me, Jake, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing here is that, the story itself has gotten to a point now where people don't have to worry about, hey, like Jim is still coaching Michigan. Is it appropriate for me to even be talking about this? Or like, we've graduated from all that. Now we're at a point where obviously Jim has moved on. We've got the notice of allegations happening. And so now people are going to start talking about it because we're at that part of the process with this whole situation. And so the idea that Sonny Dykes, does this interview and basically, sheds light on the fact that, yeah, coaches do talk. Yeah, it was a well-known fact that, Michigan was doing something. That's kind of what we knew at the time, that they, had our signals and that we needed to make some changes if we had any chance in this football game. And it turns out the changes we did make allowed us to win the ball game. And what I thought was so just kind of incredible about this is that without saying it, you're basically saying that, yeah, everybody kind of knew that Michigan was doing something, and we basically had to mitigate that. We basically had to change the way we do business inside of a football game so that Michigan didn't have an advantage. So once again, Sonny is not saying that sign stealing is illegal. What he's saying is that whatever Michigan was doing at that time was definitely next level, and they needed to do something about it, so they did. And ultimately, they go out and win the game, obviously. And, people yesterday on the show were asking, well, how did TCU go out and beat Michigan then if, Michigan was stealing signs? Well, now you know. They were warned. They made adjustments. They clearly were prepared for the moment. So everybody's saying, oh, well, hey, Max Duggan, how is this guy doing this against Michigan's defense? Oh, I know, because Michigan's defense didn't know what play was coming from TCU's offense. And so guys were, open down the field. So Max had someone to throw to. And this is precisely the point that we've been trying to make for, 2 weeks, the last or week and a half or whatever that we've been talking about this. And obviously before, which is, hey, if they didn't have the signs they had, they probably don't see the success that they saw. And so it goes without saying, if Sonny knew this in 2022, I think we said during this game.
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve 2022 when that game was played.
So if they were already talking about it at that point, are you really telling me that the rest of college football wasn't aware of this and wasn't preparing for it? Like, that's the crazy thing.
I think to the bigger point, this defense went on in 2023-24 to be one of the best defenses in the last decade at Michigan. And yet TCU put up 51 points on them. And the real irony of this game is that J.J. McCarthy, not knowing what TCU's defense was going to do, we think, still had a huge game. And they lost. And if you look at the storylines around Michigan football, J.J. McCarthy, this great football player, and he has a huge game and they lose. And their defense at Michigan, not knowing what TCU was doing, gave up 51 points, including 150 yards rushing to Amari DiMercato. And what was the total? 263 yards rushing on a 6.4 average by TCU in total.
So it turns out it does make a difference when you know what the offense is doing. Like,
man.
And I think even more so in the running game, because if you think about it, in the passing game, even when you're like, great safety play, both at the college level and at the NFL level, great safety play is largely contingent on the safety understanding, hey, this is where guys are in your offensive set. Like, this is the odds of where they might be going. Like, that's how great safety play develops. And so the idea that you were able to run for 6 yards a carry just tells you that, hey, yeah, it actually was a huge advantage that they had, because their safety wasn't coming down into the box. The linebackers didn't know which way you were going. Obviously, you actually had to go out and make the play straight up. And so,
well, and I not to interrupt you there, but I think an interesting point was made yesterday. I was talking to a football guy who was telling me, one of the things that people don't understand is Michigan likely knew which way the play was going to go, like what direction the flow of the play and through what gap. And that's a really basic point, right? You're like, oh, so what? They still got to make the tackle. No, you know what the point is? As much read option and deception as offenses build into football now, if you know what gap the play is designed to go into, and you know that just because they're starting with power left means that they're not going left, they're actually going to cut back and go through the A gap on the right side of the hole or the right side of the line, or that this is going to be off tackle right instead of left, you don't think that matters. That's a huge difference. When you know as a linebacker, hey, they're flowing to the right, but you're going to flow right a little bit, but your weight is going to be on your right side. So that because you know the play is going to cut back, it's a counter, or it's a toss sweep.
You're essentially waiting for the back to come to you at that point.
I mean, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. I just thought this Sonny Dykes thing was very interesting. And you look at my main points on this are Jim Harbaugh standing up in front of the assembled media in Los Angeles the other day, claiming complete, just no knowledge. I had no idea this was going on.
Well, and I think the reason Jim does that is because he knows he got over on him. He knows that, hey, not only did I get over on Michigan and the NCAA, right? Now I'm in a place where they can't even really do anything about it. We've talked about how Jim is probably looking at a 10-year show cause as part of this process with the discipline. But Jim doesn't care about that. It's not like you're doing anything to. It's not like, you're taking money out of his pocket or, you're hurting his career. Like, Jim's already out of the system. He's in the NFL. He's already jumped the ship. Like, he's gone. So yeah. I think Jim Harbaugh enjoys taking the opportunity to sit up there and troll, in a sense. Sit up there and say, yeah, I didn't know anything about this. I was raised not to lie, not to cheat, not to do any of this
My
stuff.
father raised me right.
Right? Like, you're sitting here standing on your moral high ground, and meanwhile, the rest of the coaching staff essentially is getting violation after violation. And you're just going to sit here and say, I'm going to coach this team right now, move forward with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, bro. Like, come on, Jim.
And I think that in the comments section, here's the question I have directly for you. And if you're watching us on the X platform this morning, good morning to you as well. Come on over to YouTube. You guys, make sure you're hitting the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Here's the question I have for you in the comments section. Should Sherrone Moore face punishment for this sign stealing scandal? And I there's this paradox that the NCAA says it grapples with in these situations. Do I punish and really stifle the growth of the current roster because of the sins of previous coaching staffs and players? I don't know how you don't do it. I don't know how Sherrone Moore, and it's been suggested to me that he will miss the last 6 games of this season, because it is also, most people in college football that I've spoken to believe that Michigan is going to not fight this, that they want to mitigate the punishment as much as they can. And they believe if they go to court and they fight over this, that the punishment will be much heavier and steeper. Whereas if they say, yep, we did this, and Sherrone Moore, to his credit, according to my sources, is cooperating fully. Sherrone Moore did not fight over these text messages, and the shift in the paradigm of this sign stealer guy scandal happened when Jim Harbaugh left. I think and maybe I missold the lead here. I was told yesterday that hearts were broken, that it was like a jilted lover. Michigan felt like a jilted lover when Jim Harbaugh left. He had them believing he was coming back to Ann Arbor to continue on as a coach at Michigan. And they felt heartbroken over it. And now Sherrone Moore, in the picture, as I have heard that Michigan is painting to the NCAA, is Sherrone Moore is a victim of Jim Harbaugh's. That Sherrone Moore was following the leadership of his head coach. Does that absolve him of punishment? Because that's what Michigan is asking for. Michigan is asking and essentially making the argument this was a previous regime. Sherrone Moore was doing what he was instructed to do. The only problem is that's not a defense at the NCAA level. You cannot claim that I knew it was wrong, but I was just doing my job. You have to stop at, well, I knew it was wrong, so I reported it. I knew it was wrong, so I did not do it. That's all the NCAA cares about. I think Sherrone Moore gets at least half a season.
Well, and I think that's my opinion is while I do agree on some level that Sherrone, based on media interviews he's done and just kind of the vibe he seems to put off, does seem like more of a follower than a leader as a coach. And I think that, that interview that he did, what was that, post game after Ohio State, I think it might have been, could be wrong, where he's like crying about, this was for you. And, just that whole thing, I think really put off a persona that Sherrone really did idolize Jim and really did cherish Jim, if you will.
That team loved Jim Harbaugh. And you can't, it's not even arguable, is it? You can't even argue that was Harbaugh's team. Like, those players fought for him. Those players followed him. That coaching staff followed him. Hell, they spent tens of millions of dollars defending this guy. And it caused division between faculty and staff.
But I still think Sherrone needs to be accountable.
Sherrone needs fired.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't know about that.
I don't know that I would fire him, but what I do think that I would do, because the thing you can't have is that, so if we're going to do this whole thing where in college football we say, okay, it was the prior administration or the prior regime who did all this, and so because of that, now that they've moved on, we're not going to punish the current. If we're going to do that, that sets a really bad precedent for college football, just generally speaking. Hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to take a job, I'm going to break all the rules, I'm going to win a national championship, and then I'm going to go to the league. That's a terrible precedent to set in college football. So I don't think they can do that. But what I do think you can do is you can say, okay, we understand you were not the head coach here. You were not the one calling the shots. However, you were on the coaching staff. You were second in command.
Yeah.
You did know that it was wrong. And so because of that, you do have to be accountable on some level. We're not going to give you a 10-year show cause. We're not going to, levy the full weight of the department against you. But you're going to have to miss half the season. And as part of missing half the season, you're not going to be, and this is the part that I think whoever you're a fan of, just college football folks in general need to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. Is it a thing where when he misses 6 games to end the season, is it, hey, you can't even be in the facility, or is it just you can't be in the building on game day? That's where I think the conversation will lie as far as Sherrone Moore is concerned. But to what you've said in the past, I do think you're going to get your scholarships cut down. You're going to get like all those things that they can cut down moving forward. I do think we're going to see that.
I think the likely punishment for Michigan is Sherrone Moore gets a 2-year show cause, a 6-game suspension. I think they will have a multi-season. I think we're getting a little carried away. There will be a 2-year postseason ban for Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Anything more than 2 years, they might as well just burn the stadium to the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a decade of punishment. If you knock them out, like, I saw the comments section yesterday on our YouTube channel, like at 5 years, you're not banning them for 5 years. 2 years, yeah, I think there's a 2-year postseason ban coming. I think there is a reduction in distribution. And again, I know Michigan fan yesterday was all riled up. I said this, but if you have a postseason ban in football, immediately it is damaging financially because you're not going to make college football playoff money. You are not going to be on TV. It is going to cripple your recruiting. But on top of all of that, you're also likely not going to the NCAA tournament because your men's basketball program has been decimated by scandal and just incompetence of operation.
Yeah.
So think about how much trouble Michigan's football and basketball programs are in, and then ask yourself, well, what's the impact on the Michigan chess team? It's massive because think about the money you're not making. And I say this all the time. I'm in sales, and I say this all the time. I appreciate the money I'm making. I don't lose sleep over the money I make. I lose sleep over the money I'm not making.
Yeah.
And if you are a Michigan fan, it's the money you're not going to make for probably the next 3 to 5 years that should terrify you. Because if you miss the postseason, if you are ineligible for postseason play for the next 2 years, let's say, you're not going to be recruiting for, I mean, how many years of damage is that? That's at least, at a minimum, 3 to 5 years of recruiting damage. That means that you won't be competing for conference championships. You will not be able to compete with Ohio State. You will not be able to be the program that you cheated your way to becoming. And here's the real ball buster. Does Sherrone Moore survive that? And if you don't believe Sherrone Moore survives a 2-year postseason ban, 3 to 5 years of recruiting lag, a lack of TV money, a lack of, and this is the other part now, a lack of private money investment. Because if you're a private money investor, you're expecting a return on your investment. And if your investment isn't going to the postseason, what kind of return are you getting? So now it's not only hurting your recruiting, it's hurting your private money, it's hurting your TV money, it's hurting. You are now not accused of cheating. The NCAA at that point would have said, you cheated. Your national championship that you worked all these generations for is essentially a sham. I think about how damaging that is.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, it is that this is why the NCAA understands you don't have to employ the death penalty anymore.
Yeah. They're just going to chop your legs off.
We're going to keep you out of the postseason. We're going to prevent you from recruiting off campus. We're going to limit your on-campus visits. We're going to reduce your scholarships. And we're going to make it so that your former head coach never coaches at college football again, that your current head coach misses half a season at a minimum. And then if he gets fired for being not good at Michigan, it's going to be 2 years after that, because if he gets a 2-year show cause notice, remember this, if Sherrone Moore gets a 2-year show cause notice, it's after he leaves Michigan for 2 years. You have to show cause that there's nobody else qualified like Sherrone Moore is to be your next football coach for 2 years. We're talking about real damage here. This is, and I know that we all like to give him the death penalty, Marty. Don't take this lightly. And this idea that Jim Harbaugh told the media that he had no knowledge, you're just stomping on Sherrone Moore's balls.
Well, and that's
by doing
the
that.
hard part with Jim. And this is where the Michigan fan who just, takes it hook, line, and sinker and just believes this guy through and through. How do you believe this guy through and through when he's gone and your school is just taking a beating? Like, how do you not see this and say, damn, like, This guy's sitting here in the NFL making millions of dollars, riding high, and sitting here saying he had no idea. And now Sherrone is having to ask if he's going to survive this situation. And we're for sure not going to be in the playoffs. Like,
and
come on, man.
The other part of this is it's not. It is. Let's pretend. So if anybody's got cocaine, PCP, acid, go ahead, pass it along. Ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I need to get into pretend fairy tale land.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Let's believe Jim Harbaugh. Okay, Jim Harbaugh had no idea. What should Jim Harbaugh be saying? Yeah, this is on me. I was the leader of that program. It was my responsibility to know. I didn't know, and I feel terrible that I didn't know. I understand the damage that I did to my staff, the kids on that team. And I feel terrible that Michigan University was going to make me the highest paid football coach in the history of the sport. And I still stuck a finger up their ass and went to LA to work for the worst owners in the NFL. But I had no idea any punishment was coming.
Sometimes I think I just say shit, sample what comes out of my mouth.
I mean, if I'm Jim Harbaugh and I truly didn't know, I'm still saying, yeah, it was my fault. It's my responsibility. I'm out of that situation now. I'm one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. I'm out of that situation. I didn't know. I truly didn't know. Okay. I didn't know, but it was still my responsibility. I dropped the ball as the head coach at Michigan because it's very clear that members of my staff were committing very serious NCAA violations. If Jim Harbaugh had said that, do you know how little damage the NCAA would do to Sherrone Moore? If Jim Harbaugh would just fall on the sword and say what we already all believe to be the truth, which is, yes, you know what? That was my responsibility. Because again, when he sits up there and he mocks the process and he says that I had no idea and I was raised with integrity and...
Yeah, I do have a comment on that. Never lie, never cheat, never steal. I was raised with that lesson. I have raised my family on that lesson. I have preached that lesson to the teams that I've coached. No one's perfect.
And that's why it's so hard for me to now realize that the staff that was working under me was not working with integrity, was not being honest. And that, for me, as a man that was raised on ethics and integrity, boy, that's tough for me to take. I was a head football coach. That was my responsibility.
Punish me.
I feel bad for that, for having dropped the ball. That's what Jim Harbaugh should be saying, but his ego won't let him say that. Now, let's get back to real world. Fuck that guy. Because he knew, in my opinion. There's no way he didn't know. So you're telling me, and again, Sonny Dykes, I'll go back to Spike Dykes' kid, who on the record here is saying sign stealing is pretty common, but I think Michigan took it to a different level. We made a couple of changes. And this statement was preceded by him saying, as we were preparing to play Michigan, we called a bunch of their the teams, the coaches of teams they played as you do. That's common practice. Hey, Jimmy, I know you guys played Michigan this year. What can you tell me about, the cup size of the center, right? Like, so you're having conversations, and he was saying overwhelmingly the message that was coming through: Michigan is stealing your signs. Michigan knows your signs. Protect your offense and defense. Change your signs. Michigan's stealing your so. Everybody in college football knew about Jim Harbaugh. Come on, guy. Like that's just, and I do want to, real quick before we get back to the comment section, I give Michigan fan a lot of credit because there's a lot of mea culpas in the comment section. If you go and look at Twitter and YouTube, there's a lot of Michigan fans that are like, yeah, I'm glad he's gone. And I think there's a lot of Michigan fans who feel that way.
Well, and if you were a Michigan fan before Jim, and you obviously continue to be a Michigan fan during Jim, and
Yes.
then now you're a Michigan fan after Jim, you're looking at this and you're saying, damn, dude, like, yeah, we won a natty, but it's kind of tainted, and this is a really bad look for the university as a whole.
Yeah.
And I'm just ready to get back to, having peace of mind, honestly, because Michigan, this is the thing with Michigan, and I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but like Michigan's one of those schools that has a lot of pride in it. It's one of the best universities in college athletics and really in the educational space as well. It's a total package, but now we have to look at Michigan and say, yeah, until this punishment period's over, you're the school that cheated to win a national championship. And we're not going to rip that from you, but we are going to make it so you have no business playing playoff football for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Oak State James, remember when Bill Clinton said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman? That was Harbaugh the other day. Yeah, this is akin to Bill Clinton saying he didn't get filleted in the Oval Office. Well, I did get filleted.
I want you to listen to me.
I didn't know you meant what?
I'm going to say this again.
Fellatio's sexual relations?
What?
A little beach. A little beach. Who doesn't
I've never taken steroids.
A little blowy? Like, that's not sex. That's a blow. That's a little BG. Are you kidding me? It's not sexual.
I mean, this is right
who
up the alley.
Who hasn't driven drunk 1,000 times?
Dude, this is Mike Gundy. This is Bill Clinton. This is Lance Armstrong, Roger Clemens. This is Sammy Sosa, like Mark McGuire. Like, it's all these dudes who did the thing they're being accused of, and we all know they did that thing, but they're still going to go ahead and deny it. And it doesn't matter if it's in the court of law or at the podium in, Charger baby blue.
Look, I only put cork in my bat for batting practice.
It's an honest mistake, dude. It was an honest mistake. What do you want me to do? Come on.
Matt Chimura.
Oh, boy.
Probably should just skip that
Who
one.
the fuck is that guy?
Okay. 49-26 before 2021. Begin cheating 40-3 since. All those people saying it didn't impact the games are crazy.
Wow.
It had a massive,
good comment, dude.
Massive impact on the game. Even though you're named after a disgraced tight end, it's fine. Boyd Lake, yo, bros. Hello. Henry DiCarlo, time to bury the UM program. Well, they did that to themselves.
Program.
Will he cheat in the NFL? Stepanik says.
Nah, he doesn't need to cheat in the NFL.
I think it's a lot more like you can't steal signs in the NFL, and we're going to find this out in college now. They have helmet technology. So you don't give signs anymore. You just could he steal the electronic signals? Sure.
And by the way, as in the NFL this time around, he's got a lot more on the line because he knows he can't go back to college football. So he needs this to stick for 4 or 5 years.
Yep. Jeremiah Champion. Good morning, gentlemen. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Stealth E Sniper.
See what you did there.
Hope that Call of Duty is good to you. Will you please stop sending me clips of people playing video games? What the fuck? Like, you've got to get a life.
Bro, those clips were funny, dude.
I didn't say they weren't funny.
They're hilarious.
TCU also said they put in dummy signals that were identical to their main signal throughout the year. They just switched up the guy that was active. Yeah, well.
Hey, they did what they did. They made adjustments, changed signals, dummy signals, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever they did, it worked. That's the point.
Boyd Lake, if Moore was part of the old regime, he needs to be punished along with the rest of the program. And he turned over the text messages. For those who don't know, 7 staff members are implicated in the notice of allegations from the NCAA to Michigan. 7 staff members, including Sherrone Moore, who deleted, according to the NCAA, 52 text messages. And it is believed there are hundreds more. But Sherrone Moore deleted 52 text messages, which were later recovered and turned over to the NCAA. And by all accounts, Sherrone Moore is fully cooperating. Because I think at this point...
Why wouldn't you?
you've got to cut your loss. I mean, it's not a secret anymore what you did. You're
and
caught.
again, if you're a Michigan fan, that's what should really bother you. Jim could be helping you even still. Like, he could quite literally choose to say something at a media availability that would tremendously help your case moving forward, and he won't do it.
No, he won't. Boyd Lake, if Michigan fan didn't see this coming, that's on Michigan fan. Yeah. I see 3 games. If Harbaugh didn't get half a season, why should Sherrone Moore get half a season? Because when he got 3 games at the end of the season, the depth and knowledge and scope of the operation was not known at the time. They knew that a member of Jim's staff, Connor Stallions, was providing tickets and compensation to certain individuals to go and film sidelines. How did we know that? Well, Connor used a publicly available Venmo account. He used a ticket account that was in his own name. And the people he paid to go and videotape sidelines did interviews and told everybody, hey, he paid us to go and do videotape sidelines from the stands. Did I mention that, he was on the Central Michigan sideline videotaping Michigan State? The fact that Central Michigan, and again, Jim McElwain is obviously very close to the Michigan program. The fact that Jim McElwain allowed Connor Stallions on his sideline to videotape Michigan State to help Michigan football, it's wild. That's the one that I
Fine Steeler guy.
Because that is a very serious allegation.
Yeah.
That you helped another school breach the integrity of college football. That's you weren't even, because Connor Stallions being on the Central Michigan sideline had no benefit to Central Michigan. He was there to videotape Michigan State for the University of Michigan.
And that's why I've always asked, how did Jim McElwain benefit from that situation? Because you can't tell me you're taking all that risk for nothing.
Well, I think he did it to help his friends. I mean, obviously, he and Connor Stallions were on staff at Michigan together. I mean, McElwain is very close to that program. So
I the trouble I have with that is, and I don't disagree. They're friends. Like, they all know each other. Totally agree. But you're a head coach of a program, dude. Like, you have a good job. If you stay out of the way and you just do your job every day and do your best, you're going to be in that job for a while. And it's going to be reliable.
But the fact he stood up there and Jim McElwain was like, the sign stealer guy.
Fine Steeler guy.
Like, you're acting like this is like
that you don't know who Connor Stallions
like,
is.
You're acting like some robber came in the middle of the night with a gun and a mask on, and you had no idea who he was, and he like killed your chickens or something. Like, dude, come on, man. You knew who this guy was. You allowed him on the sideline, and yet still nobody's been able to explain how Connor got a VB pass to get on the sideline, dude.
Michigan fan doesn't care. They won the championship. That's all that matters to them. Yeah, as most fans are like that. Eric and Raleigh, banishment from the entire state of Michigan. Just move Ann Arbor over to, you just push it down to Indiana. Maybe put it.
Just put it right in the middle of the lake.
Put it into the lake.
Just put it into the lake.
Sherrone Moore should be banned for 3 games at the beginning of the year. He should have to be on the sideline when Ohio State thumps Michigan. We actually have to go out and, thump Michigan first. Anthony Eason, they took Louisville basketball championship for strippers. No on-field advantage, but Michigan really cheated and they get to keep theirs.
Yeah, but you're missing the point, dude.
I don't understand why people can't wrap their heads around the fact that we're not in the same USC, SMU, Louisville strippers scenario here. We're not. The NCAA has lost a lot, and I mean a lot of teeth. They don't have the ultimate authority they once had. They do not. They have essentially stated that the death penalty is not a thing anymore. You're not going to vacate wins and strip a team of a national championship. Because it's much like Reggie Bush, who now has his Heisman Trophy back. Because the world of college football is very different. You can keep going backwards. Hell, again, I'm a Notre Dame fan. We vacated wins over an education issue. Does anybody even go to class anymore?
Well, and the problem with the whole vacating wins or championships, in my opinion, is that cool, you can go ahead and vacate them or take them back if you want, but it's not like the kids didn't go out and play that game. It's not like they didn't go out and beat the opposition. Like,
you had an opportunity to punish Michigan in real time and chose not to do it.
yeah,
You're not.
we can't just unwind the watch. We
I
can't
guess
just go back.
I guess it's possible. It's almost impossible. I don't even know how you would do that. Boyd Lake, in the portal days, a postseason ban is seriously tough to deal with. Yeah, you're dead in the water.
It's worse than ripping the championship, man.
Yeah, if you ban Michigan from 2 straight postseasons, they're in a very difficult spot. Very difficult. Chris E. Postseason ban isn't happening. Michigan will fight that in court. I don't think they will. Because, again, if you fight in court, the punishment is far worse. Far worse. NCAA themselves stated that Michigan won the championship fairly. This will be litigated in court. I really don't think it'll be litigated in court. What are you going to litigate? I mean, the evidence is overwhelming. It's not in question, did this happen? It happened. It's not in question of who knew what. I mean, there's digital records all over the place.
Hard evidence.
And again, the stark contrast of Connor Stalions' behavior. Look at him on the sideline at Michigan, waving his hands, talking to coaches. You see him interacting in real time, looking at cards, looking at the signals, talking to a coach. What did he do at Central Michigan? None of that. Stood in the background, wasn't communicating with coaches, was simply wearing sunglasses at night, recording Michigan State's sideline. It's a stark difference. He was an active participant at Michigan. It's not in question what this guy did. It's not in question that 7 coaches and staff members are named in a notice of allegations. Come on. It's not in question anymore. Marcus Emmert, the recruiting damage is honestly probably the worst part.
Yeah, and they should suffer those consequences.
Because you're just not going to be talented. Giggity, all the university and their fans should feel the pain. After all, they were the same ones defending Harbaugh in the cheating.
Yes.
They were. And I think Michigan fan on the whole is a very good cut of college football fan. And they're starting to come around to the fact that it's almost watching a car accident in slow motion, because Michigan fan is starting to realize that Jim Harbaugh doesn't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh doesn't care about Michigan. Jim Harbaugh never cared about Michigan, does not care about Michigan fan. In my opinion, he never had love for Michigan. He needed a golden parachute out of San Francisco. And he was hired and brought in with a hero's welcome. And I think he left you jilted at the altar after he got his glory and the photos on the wall in his office of him hosting the trophy. And I think Michigan fan is slowly and surely coming around to the emotional damage.
Got.
Without question. Without question. It's rough. Glenn, NCAA to Michigan. What about we're about to shut off your water. To which the Chad Carter says, good morning, just catching up. Wait, Michigan is getting in trouble? Oh, no. Laughs in Ryan Day's brother's private firm. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Oh, Ryan Day's brother. Shut up.
Where are we at in society today?
Just shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah.
Michigan should get the Notre Dame penalty. Make them play with 10 players. Right, yeah. Sure. Okay. Damian Fowler. Honest question, Monty. Any chance Ward's role in the college football playoff saves Michigan with the bowl ban? I don't think so. I think that Ward Manuel is on the clock at Michigan.
Yeah, you want to talk about losing respect and stature in your athletic department? Jesus, like, dude, you're talking about being an athletic director of a department that's got multiple scandals in both of your revenue generating sports, and somehow, some way, you're telling me that Ward Manuel survives that. You're telling me that this guy just goes on another 5 to 7 years.
Not possible.
There's just no way.
Not
there's just
possible.
no way that dude is going to make it through to the other end of the tunnel, man.
I don't see how that is even remotely possible.
Like, if you're Michigan as a university and you're looking at this from the big picture perspective, are you not sitting here as an administrator of this school saying, okay, cool, our educational side's great, but what's going on in athletics, man? Like how do we got to get athletics straightened out? Like, we're in the Big Ten. We can make loads of money being pretty freaking mediocre. We'd obviously love to win, but we want to win fair and square. We're not interested in scandal after scandal.
And
what are we doing?
Jim Harbaugh had to do the other day, instead of going out of his way to be a red ass, all Jim Harbaugh had to do was say, yeah, I have some real regret over the fact that outside of my knowledge, I didn't know it was happening. But it's really sad that my staff member, whatever. And again, I just point out, it doesn't matter if Jim Harbaugh knew or not.
Yeah. But it does matter that right now he could be helping you and he's choosing not to.
Yeah. A conscious decision not to.
Yeah.
Eric and Raleigh, who's got it better than me? Not Michigan. That's amazing. That's amazing to me. James, and privately, Harbaugh said, do whatever it takes and don't get caught. I don't want to know how you know what.
I don't think that's him at all.
I don't think that's
with
him
all
at
due
all.
respect, James, I don't think that that's Jim at all. My opinion is, I think Jim is the genesis of the whole thing. I think, to your point, Jim only came to Michigan because he had to leave San Francisco because he lit that thing on fire. So he needed to get out of the NFL for a minute to let time pass, but he didn't want to just coach some terrible program. He wanted to go to a high-level program where he could make a difference and still be in the national spotlight. And so him and Michigan wound up being a good match. And when he couldn't figure out how to beat Ohio State and he was, his seat was getting hot, he said, okay, I got to find a way to change the tide of my time at Michigan. And this is how I'm going to do it. And there you go. My opinion is he spearheaded the whole thing. He knew who Connor was. He knew that he obviously was aware of the Jim McElwain relationship. He understands and appreciates the fact that he, as a person and as a coach, can manipulate people and can get their buy-in to a point where they're just following him blindly.
Yeah.
And he did this. Now, I do agree that the sign stealing part of this thing would not have gone as well as it did for them while they were doing it had Connor Stalions not been as committed to it as he was, as just bought in and just fully all the way in on helping the team win no matter what. Because you got to understand, Connor Stalions is not, in my opinion, a normal dude. Like, anybody with a conscience would have sat here and said, man, this is a violation. We could get in serious trouble doing this. Maybe I should use a private Venmo. Maybe we shouldn't be just publicly buying people tickets. And maybe we should try to be a little more covert about this.
And again, the best part of the sign stealing thing is you don't have to send people to stadiums.
But Jim clearly felt like he did.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
You get all of the tape that you need. And everybody makes this argument that, well, everybody steals signs. They do, except they do it the way that is accepted.
Well, and look at what Sonny Dykes said in what he said. He said in the picture we have here in his comment, look, I think sign stealing is pretty common in college football. So again, it's not that you stole the signs. That's never been the issue.
That's not been the issue.
The issue is that you were doing something called advanced scouting. You were going to other teams' games in other buildings and recording, which is illegal. You can't do that.
And and you were running it up on fucking Rutgers. You were. That's the issue.
Another great
Everybody
point.
gets lost in this sign stealing. Every team has to upload tape to a hub where your future opponents go and watch your game tape. All 22, the sidelines, all of it, it's all there. If you want to watch their tape and steal signs, it's not that difficult to do. It truly is not.
Like, if you've ever watched Hard Knocks as an example, Hard Knocks is loaded with scenes and situations where they're in the film room and, they're looking at game tape, but they're also looking at practice tape. Like, when you hear football guys talk about like, hey, I want to make sure, like, you've heard head coaches say things like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm in the quarterback room, or I'm in the O-line room, or I'm in the running back room this week because we really got to do this and that to beat our next opponent. There literally is room by room for position groups where all they do is watch film.
I just don't understand. That's the genesis of this whole thing. Because the point you can't get away from, if you're an Ohio State fan, you should probably cover your ears. Like, do you guys understand that when programs like Michigan are good, college football's better?
Yes.
And trust, as a Notre Dame fan, I have no love lost for Michigan. But I'm the guy who likes to beat teams at their very best. I have no desire to see Michigan with depleted talent and not eligible for postseason play. And that's not good for college football.
Yeah, how does the Michigan situation moving forward impact the college football playoff?
Not in a good way.
Right?
Not in a good way. Because anyway, a couple more comments, then we got to move on. I hope people recognize that there is no win in this. There is no, like, one of the Ohio State fans said that they're going to throw a party the day that Michigan gets the death penalty. Well, you're probably not going to have an occasion to party because no death penalty is coming. But if you're going to have a party the day that they get punished, let me ask you something, Ohio State fan. You really want to beat Michigan 60-5 when they have no talent on their roster and nothing to play for? What fun is that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are sectors of Ohio State Nation and even Michigan Nation who obviously the vitriol is so high that you don't really give a damn. Hey, Michigan sucks. Great.
Yeah.
We're going to run it up on them. But I agree with you. Like, I think if you're Ohio State, like, the pinnacle of your schedule right now should be beating Michigan, beating Oregon, and beating Penn State.
Yeah.
And that should be what you ride into the college football playoff on. But you're not. If you don't beat Michigan this year, you should be absolutely and utterly embarrassed, like completely embarrassed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. But the mountain of evidence now, the like reading through the notice of allegations the other day, it's an absolute head scratcher. That, and one of the things that I was talking to a friend of mine about the other day was, if you're Sherrone Moore, why don't you have a burner phone? Like, the stupidity, the blatant mistakes that were made in this thing, because it wasn't an operation, feels like we're giving it too much credit. You're Sherrone Moore. You're on your university phone, texting with Connor Stallions. Why are you not using a burner phone?
Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
Right? Why aren't you using a burner phone? Why are you using Venmo to pay people? Why are you using a cloud account that's in your name? Like, all this just stupid. You knew you had to know this. You were eventually going to get caught, I would think, right? If you're a bank robber, and this is a perfect analogy that was given to me. This is not my own. If you're a bank robber and you're like 6 banks deep,
right?
You've got $1 million. You know you're going to get caught, right? Like, eventually it always comes to an end. Always. And you're doing nothing to try and insulate yourself. It's wild to me how little effort the staff at Michigan made to like cover their tracks.
Because I don't think that Jim felt the need to cover his tracks. See, this is my point about Jim. If we stop for a second, we think, hey, wait a minute. If we presume, because obviously we don't know, right? But if we presume that Jim spearheaded this thing and he's the genesis of it, he has no need to cover his tracks. He has no need to tell anybody to cover their tracks.
You can't be that arrogant.
Oh, I think Jim Harbaugh is that arrogant. I think that's exactly why he's standing on the podium saying stuff like that. 100%,
no
dude.
way.
That's my opinion.
That would be wild.
Because Jim is not stupid. Jim understands, hey, man, the NCAA, like it's obviously everyone knows, the NCAA takes way too long to do anything when it comes to discipline and punishment. So Jim said, okay, well, what's paramount here is winning the national championship, because if you don't win the natty, all this is for naught. So they win the national championship and the cycle is complete. And so now he's taking joy in gaslighting the program.
Well, the only way that works is if he knew the whole time he was leaving to. Okay, well, maybe that is exactly what he. That's the only way it makes.
I don't know. It's terrible all the way around. It's terrible all the way around. It's terrible for college football. It's terrible for Michigan. If you're an Ohio State fan celebrating this, you're the scourge of the college football earth. Like, you shouldn't be celebrating this. And, I hope that it doesn't take 10 years for Michigan to come back around on the football field. I hope that it is 5 years. And I hope inside of the 2-year, postseason ban that we think is most likely going to happen, allegedly, I hope that you can, at least compete in football games.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at prizepicks.com. Download the app. Use the promo code Monty to get a $50 one-time deposit for new accounts when you make a $5 deposit. So they're going to give you $50. You deposit $5, they'll give you $50. It is the best deal that I've ever seen in daily fantasy, and it is spectacular. I would like to just talk about how great Bryce Harper is, how great Cody Bellinger is, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards. All I need today to walk away with $180 is for Noah Lyles to run a sub 19.82 200 meters. The final is today. I've got Noah Lyles less than 19.82.
Yeah.
I think it's almost a sure bet. As long as he doesn't get hit by a sniper.
And that's his event. He said it himself. Hey, the 200 is my event.
If he runs sub 19.82, Chaboy is going to be buying himself some.
Yeah, you're going to be buying yourself some sign stealer guys.
Yeah, I'm going to be paying for people to go videotape sidelines because I'll have the bread. I'm telling you, this is what I love about daily fantasy. Most of us would not be watching the 200-meter final at the Olympics. But because I've got good money on the line, I'm going to be watching Noah Lyles run. And that ad better run a sub 19.82.
Yep.
Because if he does, I'm going to be a very happy man.
He will.
That's what I love about Prize Picks. Watching Bryce Harper's at bats, because I need 1.5 total bases, and he comes through and gets more than enough. That Anthony Edwards, I needed 9.5 points. I got 17.
Yeah.
Like, it gives you more heat. It gives you a reason to really pay attention to the game. And with college football and the NFL now just weeks away, with the Big 12 kicking off, I love daily fantasy in college football.
And by the way, NFL preseason is available for this weekend. It looks like.
Unless you're an Arizona Cardinal fan and Kyler Murray's not playing one single snap in the entire preseason.
Huge mistake.
Yeah, set him up
to succeed, dude.
Set him up to succeed. That sounds like Arizona's
huge mistake, dude.
Being Arizona. But anyway, Prize Picks. Tens of millions of people play Prize Picks. Join us. Get in the community. Download the app. Use the promo code Monty.
Hey, Monty.
You deposit $5. Prize Picks will give you 50 more It is a fantastic. You can play for 3 months on $55. It is a phenomenal promotion. Just use the promo code Monty to get a $50 deposit from Prize Picks. When you open a new account, make a $5 deposit. That's all you have to do. Go to prizepicks.com. Download the app on your phone. It's super easy. Make a $5 deposit. They'll give you $50 when you use the promo code Monty. The kings of daily fantasy, Prize Picks, the daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. It hurts the Big Ten too. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Did Michigan continue to steal sign stealing into the next year when they won the Natty? Up until they got caught in what was that, October? This info came out pretty soon after Michigan TCU game. Wonder if it continued. We'll see. I mean, you don't know what the evidence is, but I think you'll see it pretty quick. Hey, real quick, I'm going to get to this Will Howard story. Very interesting. Will Howard. Will Howard's kind of he is anything but a diva. Will Howard's pretty much a pretty grounded cat. Talked to him several times on the show. Talked to him for a good 20 minutes at Media Day in Fort Worth, Tarrant County, boy. When he was at K-State. But he said something very interesting yesterday. When he was asked what the difference is at Ohio State, I think the one thing I would say is that I don't feel like I have to be a hero here. I feel like I have to the guys around me, so I just need to facilitate and get them the ball, make good decisions. At the end of the day, I don't have to go out there and do anything superhuman. I just have to be myself and trust the guys around me. Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. Is that a shot at K-State?
I mean, I think it depends who you ask. I think it's true what he's saying. I think that at K-State, he had to, what I would call, make guys better. Now, in the article that was written as part of this interview, they point out that, he had several All-Americans around him at K-State, on the line, in the running back room. Like, you had some talent for sure. But I think that what people like to do with these kind of quotes is they like to say, oh, he's trying to dig at K-State. And I don't think that's what Will's doing at all. I think what Will is saying is, hey, the reason that without saying it, the reason that I wanted to go to Ohio State is because I wanted to get to a better situation. I want to play with better players. I want to have a big season, and I want to get to the NFL. And what no K-State fan wants to admit is that for Will Howard specifically, the fit at K-State was just not the best fit. Could it work? Sure. But was it going to get him into the first round of the draft or high in the second round? No, probably not.
The enormous amount of pressure to win at Ohio State right now.
But if you're Will Howard,
bro,
you roll into that program and you're like, damn, dude, I got a loaded wide receiver room. I got
awesome defense that's going to give me field position.
I got a running back.
I can play free because my defense can cover any mistakes I make. And I do think, and we talked to Will Howard about this on the channel. Go check it out. He often talked about trying to do too much, trying to make perfect throws, feeling like he's got to fit balls in the tight windows. He often talked about that. And I think it's a very interesting point. You better win, though. There's legacies and careers on the line at Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
The enormous amount of pressure to beat the hell out of Michigan and everybody else, to go to Autzen and win. Can you imagine the amount of pressure that's happening inside the Ohio State football program? Oh, we don't listen to yeah, you do. We don't read our clip. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I think
preseason polls. We don't. Yes, you do.
The reason I think Will's going to be successful there, though, obviously the talent they have, of course, can't get away from that. But additionally, for Will specifically, he already had pressure. Like when you leave K-State and you jump in the portal, obviously Will was having conversations and generally speaking knew the couple of schools and situations he wanted to go to. But if you're going to leave heading into what is your last year in college football to try and improve your situation to get to the NFL draft, you got to get to a situation and you got to make hay, dude. Like, there's no more time to, my shoulder hurts, or maybe I took a hit, or like, that's all gone now for Will Howard. Will Howard has to come out here and ball out, dude. And I just feel like when a dude is willing to say stuff like this and say, hey, I don't feel like I have to play hero ball this year. I feel like I, for once, just have to go out and do my job, put guys in the right position. I specifically remember Will Howard in that interview we did with him talking about the fact that they, in practice, would work on with his receivers on quick slants inside, whether it was from the right side or the left side, making sure that the receiver had leverage on the DB, and that several of his interceptions came because his wide receiver didn't have the leverage on the defensive back. He's not going to have to worry about stuff like that at Ohio State. The wide receiver is going to do their damn job. And that, to me, is going to be the biggest difference for Will Howard.
Yeah, you better win.
Yeah.
You would better win, and because if you don't, you're in real trouble. You are in real trouble. Brandon Ayuk, 49ers. This is turn. His turn. Now it's gotten really interesting. The New England Patriots.
Yeah.
The Patriots say they are no longer pursuing Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, we're not making any changes.
The asking price is too high. Who are you, Danny Ainge? The asking price for Ayuk is too high.
Yeah.
And they're thrilled with their receivers that they have.
Oh, okay.
Sure you are. Brandon Ayuk was given the 49er wide receiver who's holding in.
Don't you love that?
Who's not participating in practices with the 49ers right now. Is able to go out, negotiate a contract, and get a trade set up for himself. The New England Patriots were allegedly the leader in the clubhouse until they weren't. And now it appears the Pittsburgh Steelers, who said Monday were no longer pursuing Brandon Ayuk, according to Adam Schefter, ESPN. The Pittsburgh Steelers are back fully engaged and working to acquire Brandon Ayuk. And I'm just going to say again, does Brandon Ayuk go to Pittsburgh and thrive? Or does he go to Pittsburgh and become an invisible man?
Now, what do we know about Pittsburgh's situation? Because this is unique to Pittsburgh right now. They are in full quarterback battle denial mode, right? Russell Wilson.
Justin Fields is a starting quarterback in Pittsburgh.
Right. And the thing is that they're hiding behind Mike Tomlin saying things like, next week. We'll talk about the quarterback thing next week. And it's this whole thing where even from the onset of Justin Fields becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler, what did we see this offseason? And this is where I think the Brandon Ayuk thing could potentially have a huge impact for the Steelers. From the beginning of the offseason, what did we get out of these two guys? And Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We were getting shirtless pictures of Justin Fields looking absolutely jacked. We were getting Russell Wilson in the boxing ring, looking a little older, but still looking pretty jacked for his age. And these guys were competing the whole offseason to be the leading guy, the guy that was in the best shape of his career, the best shape of his life, ready to go. The only problem is when they got to camp, what happened? Russell Wilson got hurt. And why did Russell Wilson get hurt? Because he's a little bit older now, can't absorb the contact as well. Getting back into football shape where your body's used to taking abuse is a little bit more of a challenge. So what do we have? We have Justin Fields saying, hey, I'm just focused on me and my controllables. I'm just taking reps. Like, I'm just doing me. You know, I'm not like,
I can only control what I can control.
Right. And then what do we get? We get Mike Tomlin getting asked about it saying, oh no, we'll address that next week. Then the Patriots flame out getting Ayuk. The Steelers step right back in. You're telling me that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't see Justin Fields to Brandon Ayuk written all over their season. And then that's why they're not interested in this guy.
First of all, Justin Fields, you can go piss off. If you turn into an amazing football player in Pittsburgh, I will do nothing about it.
Eber sucks is killing. Like, come on, dude.
Second of all, I hope you go there and kick ass because Justin Fields is actually a really good dude who I think landed in a terrible spot. But it makes sense. It makes sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers to go and get Brandon Ayuk. And I think it is, I don't know. I'm not fully understanding the mental faculties that Brandon Ayuk may have lost, because you're trying to leave San Francisco, a Super Bowl caliber football team, to get to Pittsburgh, not a Super Bowl caliber team, without a legitimate number one franchise quarterback. And you're leaving Brocktober and Brock Purdy. You're leaving a dynamic offense, an MVP caliber running back, and one of the best defenses in football. And it's because you don't want to play on a $14 million number.
So you want to go to a division where you're not the best team playing against an MVP caliber quarterback in Baltimore.
And a division with unbelievable defenses in it. What are you thinking? Like, who is advising Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah.
I can't. This decision is terrible. This is an awful decision.
Well, and this has
awful.
Let's say that the Steelers situation doesn't work out and he doesn't get moved and he winds up playing in San Francisco for the year. This is one of those situations that we see play out in the NBA many times over, where dude wants to get paid a max, but his value is questionable to another team. And he pushes it so far that he winds up, basically drying up his market, and then comes back to his team and makes like $30 million less than he would have if he would have just played the year out and done his thing.
Now, also, it is to be noted that if the 49ers are serious about winning, you probably need to keep Brandon Ayuk, because I know you guys are going to... I know you're going to find this hard to believe, and you're not probably going to believe me. It's shocking. Christian McCaffrey's hurt and won't play in the preseason. I know.
But Marty, he was healthy all year last year.
CMC has a pulled labial muscle, or excuse me, it's pronounced calf. He has a pulled calf muscle. I could be wrong. The Latin phrase for calf. Anyway, the point is, CMC has a calf issue, and it will keep him out of the preseason.
Oh, what a loser!
If he's hurt, they're fucked, because CMC is such a big part of that offense.
Yeah.
As we saw last year. And it is, you're so close to a Super Bowl.
Which, again, for Brandon Ayuk, I just want to say, dude, the guys you're playing with. Debo is injury prone. CMC is injury prone, and that last year was a one-off situation for him when you look at his career in total. That if you just stay here, you're going to put up numbers.
You're going to be one of the key components of a Super Bowl offense.
Now, let's go play for the Steelers. Let's play a bunch of cold weather games. Let's play against the Ravens on a regular basis. Like, that makes a lot of sense, dude. That makes a lot of sense, bro.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Nothing good. Nothing logical.
One other note. Can somebody call the New York Giants? So yesterday it was your injured quarterback starting a fight with the Lions. Or that was 2 days ago. Yesterday it was your prize rookie wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, starting a fight with the Lions. What are you doing? What are we doing?
Now, I will say, Neighbors has been tearing them up. Like, he looks good.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you run by a defensive back and slap him in the head. And then, like, this is really stupid out of the Giants. And for a team that's known to be stupid, I guess I just shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
What this is,
What's wrong with you?
You can't fight in training camp. You just can't. And I think you have to go out of your way if you are the New York Football Giants. You've got to tell Malik Neighbors, hey, look, this is not what we're doing. Daniel Jones, this is not. Now, Daniel Jones was defending a teammate, so I can almost get down with that. But Malik Neighbors, guy, you're a rookie. Just shut up and run routes.
I don't give a Baker's.
Yeah, I don't care. You are correct. Malik Neighbors has been just eviscerating that lion ass.
I'm for real.
Why get in a fight? Why are you punching? And again, I'm not smart. Ask
Marty.
Michigan fan. I'm not smart. But you're a wide receiver. Your hands essentially are your bank account. And you're punching dudes in the face mask?
Yeah, I think
You idiot.
so. The video kind of depicts this situation where Malik runs the route, they get into the end zone, incomplete pass, and of course it's training camp. You're talking junk to each other the whole time. We know things are contentious. And this other DB just like kind of comes into frame stage left. And for whatever reason, Malik was like, yeah, let me just hit this guy as I run by him. And the thing that I didn't love about it was a little bit of a cheap shot. Like he didn't drop the dude, but he hit him pretty good. And then he runs off as soon as the cavalry arrives.
It was a cheap shot.
Like, dude.
It was a cheap shot. It was, come on. Giggity. Dable said in Hard Knocks that his locker room was full of good dudes and he likes neighbors' attitude.
Well, look, I'd rather have a guy who's willing to do something like that and have to dial him back than have a guy that's soft and scared of contact and have to dial them up. I mean, that's always been the case.
I find it really fascinating. The lack of perspective on these guys getting in these fights. So many guys get hurt in training camp fights. Shoulders, hips, knees.
Now, that said, you better be 1,000-yard wide receiver right out the gate. You're showing that you can tear people up and you can do this against some of the best DBs in the league that the Lions have. Like, you better come out and be the number one on your team if you're going to have this kind of attitude.
And before we get to Italian food on the show,
right?
I do want to bring up this story. Andrew Marchand at The Athletic. Elizabeth Warren and a group of senators sent a letter to the Department of Justice today asking it to investigate and potentially prevent Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers from starting a joint venture to bring ESPN, Fox Sports, and TNT direct to consumers through Venue Sports.
Right. This has been developing.
In the letter, the senators urged the Department of Justice to examine Venue Sports and oppose it if it violates antitrust and telecommunications laws and regulations. Venue Sports is slated to begin, like right now, $42.99 a month. You won't need a cable subscription.
Right.
And you will be able to access all the programming and the games from the three networks and their affiliates. So if you're ESPN, you'll get ABC, ESPN, and ESPN Plus all in one spot.
So you're talking about SEC games for days. You're going to see
Big 12,
ACC,
SEC, ACC,
yeah,
NFL,
yeah,
NHL, Major League Baseball,
NBA,
UFC, NBA. And did I mention that Fox is involved in this? So you get the Big Ten too. And you get the NFL from Fox. And it's a huge sports deal.
Yeah.
A huge sports deal.
And I love I love this concept from the beginning. I have no idea if they're going to get in trouble for this or not, or if there's, law breaking happening here. But I love the concept of, hey, we're going to cater something, a package deal through three networks just for sports to that person who only cares about watching sports. Like if you don't care about watching Law and Order or Chicago PD or like your TV show kind of TV, and you just want sports, this is a phenomenal offering.
Well, but this would have a seismic impact on the future, because let's also not forget, what's ESPN going to be doing a year from now? Launching direct to consumer for ESPN, where you don't have to have cable or satellite. That's where we are in this world right now, with so many people. Like in the comments section, how do you watch TV? Do you guys do you still have cable or satellite? I don't have cable or satellite anymore.
Yeah.
I only have YouTube TV. Now, the problem is I also have Max in the cock and like all the different apps you have to have.
SuckMyAss.com.
Amazon Prime Video or like, where are you guys watching your sports? Like, are you and I would love to know, if you're on cable, what's it going to take for you to leave cable or satellite? That's the question that I have. Like, what is it going to take for you to leave cable? Because I think it's just so over the top expensive that.
Well, the problem is kind of what you were getting at there with all the different streaming options. Like there was I don't remember the exact number, but earlier this year there was a graphic put out that to watch every single NFL game as an NFL fan, it was some absurd price because you had to have the cock and you had to have Max and you had to have, YouTube TV and you had to have this and that, and Amazon. You had to have all these different subscriptions that wind up pushing your price to I think it was like $600 or something for the season
to watch the NFL.
Yeah, just all of your NFL games if you wanted to watch every single NFL game. And I think that's what's going to become challenging in this space is asking the consumer to pay for all these different platforms. And obviously, we already know we were already paying for Amazon Prime, so that's not really an additional cost. Everybody and their mom has an Amazon Prime account.
Look at the Google lawsuit with the Department of Justice. Antitrust is a favorite phrase in the Department of Justice, has been for 100 years. And you look at where ESPN's going. ESPN very clearly is going into a space where they're not going to be reliant on you watching YouTube TV. They're no longer reliant on cable or satellite. It's a revenue stream for them. Because they average about $25 per subscriber. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And every time, and I think people forget this, every time somebody signs up for cable or satellite, regardless of their viewing habits or if they're even sports fans, ESPN gets $25. So it's a revenue stream. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
When they go direct to consumer, I think it's going to take 5 to 7 years for them to phase out. And then it's going to be the only way you can get ESPN programming is direct to consumer. And it's models like Venue Sports, where you're aggregating all this content into one place where I can pay. If I could get every sporting event I wanted, I'd pay $100 a month if it was all in one spot.
Yeah.
Because I hate right now that I got to go, again, Max, Prime Sports, the Cock, YouTube TV, like I got to go to all these different places.
MLB app.
And just now, finally, we got a back button on YouTube TV.
Which is clutch.
But I hate that I have to go to all these different places.
And when we're in the height of sports season too, the other thing is you got to think about if you're a League Pass subscriber, you got to have the NBA app, right? If you want to, again, we talked so much about the Jazz situation with League Pass and getting that whole thing worked out. That's a huge pain in the ass, man. I got to tell you, it makes it so that I'm really not as interested in putting a ton of effort into watching Jazz games because it's just such a pain in the ass to get it on the TV. If they were championship good, I'd obviously figure it out. But it just is this thing where it's like, dude, one of my favorite things that ESPN is doing now that obviously caters to the future is the Masters or golf tournament coverage early rounds on ESPN Plus, because they give you 10 feeds of all the players you want to watch. So it's stuff like that ESPN pushes forward that when they combine with Fox and TNT and all these different companies, that makes it attractive.
Yep. Adrian on Facebook says it's all on stream. Emmert says YouTube TV, but if I could save $20, I'm in. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Brandon Butler, hello. I stream or use rabbit ears. And a lot of people, I think we forget, a lot of people use antenna to get live TV. Your local channels on rabbit ears, as Brandon says. Bud says he uses a Fire Stick. A lot of people use Fire Stick. Streaming only for me, Giggity says. Me too. Preston Stone's lover says, no, I'm kidding.
Macaque.
James, stadium guy and lover of Preston Stone. I am YouTube TV all the way. I love being able to watch TV even on road trips.
Yes.
It's a big part of it. Welcome to the nightmare. I cut the cord years ago, but still paying less for all my subscriptions I pay for. Well, isn't that the thing that annoys you too? It's just so many subscriptions.
Yeah.
Chris E says Stream East. Okay. Adrian says no cable or satellite. Old White says stream through Sling TV.
Oh.
Sling TV. There you go. There you go. Matt Ritson, YouTube TV here. Best. Why change? I don't disagree with that. San Diego State Glen, YouTube TV, Max, Amazon. It's embarrassing now.
Agreed.
It really is.
Agreed.
It really, and it's not good for the consumer at this point. It really is not. Boyd Lake, my only live TV is free TV over the air. I stream the rest. That changes in a few weeks when college football winds up. And isn't that the essence of being a sports fan?
Yeah.
Well, I can't get all the games I want on Rabbit Ears. Got to get a streaming service.
Yep.
And I'm telling you.
And by the way, you better have a TV that can handle streaming.
If you don't subscribe to ESPN Plus, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. It is easily the best in the business. LFG says like 61. Yes, please hit the like button. We really appreciate that. It is, yeah. LOL 25 for everything, and I do mean everything. Must be nice.
Okay.
James says, I do know Spectrum does allow you to watch TV on their app if you have cable with them. By cable, that's what I would do.
See, I tried to do that with DirecTV, and their streaming offering was garbage. Like, you could never get it to work. It was totally unreliable. Like,
yeah. Big Blue Horses, streaming is the new cable. Cut the cord for an invisible cord that costs more, arguably. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Woodbox Council TV all day long.
Okay.
Remember how heavy those things were? Adrian says ESPN Plus. Yes. Exactly right. Exactly right. It is. Yeah. Steve Stepanek, does anyone watch the sport of slap? Dana White says it will be bigger than the UFC. I can't do it.
No.
I don't understand it.
Oh.
I don't understand it. Did you watch Hard Knocks last night?
I did, yes.
I'm excited. I'm waiting until there's a couple of episodes because I'm really worried about, and a buddy of mine that works in TV was telling me that apparently there is a lot of James going like all in on Preston Stone with Caleb Williams. It's probably lost on some people. Apparently there's a lot of Caleb Williams love on that show. And I'm a little nervous about.
Oh, would you expect it to be different?
Speaking of filleting, I'm a little worried about the level of love that Caleb Williams is getting inside that building. Because they need tough love, not just all in. Boyd Lake, with Sling, you got to get blue or orange to get all the college games, and you still need ESPN Plus. I would just go ESPN Plus. You get just about every game you want. Just about everyone you want. Like there's just so much money. It's so much money. Eric and Raleigh. I have Hulu Plus, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus bundle. Okay. Okay. Matt Ritson says Pac-12 Network can't find anymore. Why be a jerk? You're not wrong.
Damn.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. But I just thought that was interesting. Okay. Do you guys eat Italian food? Like in the comments section, what's your favorite food? Pizza, tacos, your mom. Like, what's your favorite food? I love Italian.
Italian.
I'm a huge fan of Italian food.
Yeah.
So it was with a heavy heart yesterday that I was reading about Buca di Beppo filing for bankruptcy. Now, they're not closing. They're just filing for bankruptcy and moving towards closing.
Right.
So they're letting you know at some point in the future they're going out of business. It's just not right now. But Buca di Beppo is actually good Italian food. It's served family style. Like Olive Garden is just, I mean, it's not Italian food.
Nah. It's Americanized food.
It's processed, oily, terrible food.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it doesn't taste good, but it's not Italian food. Buca di Beppo is actually Italian food. And their lasagna, and I'm a huge connoisseur of lasagna. You guys may know I grew up Italian, grew up eating really good Italian food. Like buca di beppa's lasagna is really good. And I think that buca is one of the last mainstream quality food producers left. And now they're on the way out. Now, if you said to me, hey, Marty, where are you going for food? Like, what's my favorite food? Italian, I think. Italian or Mexican, and it's probably Italian.
Right.
But I think it's really hard. I live in Salt Lake City where everybody's like, oh, bro, the food scene here's amazing. It sucks.
Yeah, it's not.
Food in Utah
Because
sucks.
it's garbage.
Let's just be honest with it. Let's speak the truth. The food scene in Salt Lake City is terrible. It's garbo.
It's great for people who've never been outside the state.
I went to a place called Seven Suns last night before I went to see Rachmaninoff at the...
Yeah.
I went to the symphony last night. If you do not take your girl to the symphony, you're crazy. We went to a place called Seven Suns. It sucked. And the problem is anymore, when you go out to eat, usually it's not a good experience and the food's pretty mid. When you go to Buca, you know what you're getting. You're getting big plates. You're getting shareable. Like,
yeah.
Buca's good food. Buca's really good food. And I think the day of the Italian restaurant on every corner, it's over. It's dead. There is, with the explosion of chicken joints and Mexican joints, the Italian restaurant is dead. There are very few good Italian restaurants.
Well, and I think that the appreciation for going out to dinner and sitting down for a nice Italian meal is gone. And that's really sad because there's an authentic Italian place in St. George in southern Utah that we really like, that I think about. But like, that's a mom and pop. That's a one-off local business who's doing it their way. And the problem is Buca got to a point where they had loads of locations nationally. Yes. And they still do have a ton of locations nationally, but I think they just got too big. And so now the problem is that in Texas, where this bankruptcy is being filed for reorganization, they're simply saying, yeah, like we have too many locations for the level of demand that is not in the marketplace for what we do. So we need to close some of these and reorganize, and they have 90 days to find a buyer. So they're going to sell it off. And once you do that, what you knew before the sale is gone. You're going to sell it to someone new who's probably going to chop it down.
And I'm just going to tell you, I travel a little bit. We were just in Boston a couple of weeks ago. The food in Boston was tremendous. I think the place was called Porto in the Italian Village. I had great chicken parm. Went right down the street because they didn't have lasagna on the menu. Went right down the street, got great cannoli from Michael's in Boston.
Michael's.
Phenomenal food. Phenomenal food. Being from Chicago, phenomenal food in Chicago.
But see, I think that's the thing. Like, with all due respect to Salt Lake, like Salt Lake doesn't feel like a Boston or a Chicago.
I miss living in a major city. I hope at some point I can live in a major city again. I don't dislike living in Salt Lake. I think we romanticize it a little bit. It's a good place to live. You can raise a family here. You can afford to live. It's a great place for families. I miss diversity, and here it is all white. So I miss diversity. I miss good food. I miss good professional sports. We were sort of contemplating going to Chicago next weekend to watch one of my favorite pianists happen to be playing at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Like the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, I went to that as a kid and loved it. And being able to go to a Cubs game, then go to the symphony and then have a great meal, that's what you don't get in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You don't have great sporting events. And I love college football is not the same atmosphere. You go to college football to tailgate Salt Lake is a great college town. It's not a great sports town.
Not a major metro.
And I miss those multi-day event things. Like it is, having lived in San Francisco for several years, going to catching a Giants game down at the park and then, having a great meal downtown was, I mean, and it slipped my mind. I can't remember the name of the joint, but there was this great Italian joint. Go have a great Italian meal, catch a Giants game, like go catch a Niner game, go have a great meal. Like, I mean,
Well,
that's,
even like
I miss that.
even by the Giants ballpark in San Francisco, that chicken and waffle place we would always go to before the game. It's right across the street from the ballpark. Can't remember what it was called, but it was a local business that was booming at that time. And just like little spots like that are in vibrant downtown communities, you don't really get that vibe. And so when I saw this Buka story, I was like, damn, dude, like I remember going and having family meals at Buka, and like, Buka used to be a big deal, but I feel like, after the pandemic, people just are it's just different now.
It is.
Man.
It's
Like,
very
just,
different.
It's just so different.
Yeah, and I think yeah, it depends on what you like. It really does. Brandon Butler, lasagna is just spaghetti flavored cake. Very well could be. But I'm telling you.
Yeah, whatever. It's damn good, dude.
When you get somebody that understands, because most people just want to put frozen lasagna in the oven and say they made it. That's not making lasagna. When you have somebody that hand layers lasagna and ricotta cheese and really good beef and
it's like fresh noodle and you can taste the difference, and
it's amazing. And it's really hard to find. It's really hard to find, in my opinion. Big Daddy Magic. Hey, player, have you ever heard of Chinese food?
No, I don't think I have, dude. I don't think I have.
What's Chinese food? Is that hot dog stuff? Never heard of it. Tons of restaurants are going under. It's just a sad situation. It is. It really is. Mediterranean and Mexican. Mediterranean food is highly underrated. Man, it's tough to find. Now, I'm not saying Beto's is bad Mexican food, but it's not Mexican food.
Yeah.
It's hard to find, just like a good taco plate in Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Red Iguana, amazing.
I was going to say, there's only really one, and that's it.
It is. Calford says, love Rachmaninoff. Boy, did we see a performance last night. And I know you guys are going to be like, oh, Monty over there in his smoking jacket at the symphony. Dude, it's not like that. You can afford to go to the symphony. And there's just, you watch. It just makes me happy watching and listening to those people. It really is. It is. It is so good. The symphony is amazing. Fazoli's has good breadsticks, though. Okay. San Diego State Glen, Chinese is a short answer. Getting older, so you have to do more than just moderation. You do. Like, again, we went, Mrs. Monty and I don't eat out much. We have been cooking like fiends. And today, for instance, we're going to get another farm-to-table box. Phenomenal cantaloupe last week in the farm-to-table box. Mrs. Monty made whole oats yesterday morning with fresh apricots. Phenomenal. So the problem is that you can't just do moderation. So we go to the symphony last night and we go to the Seven Brothers place, which is not bad. It's just not good. And you're sitting there and you're like, she ordered a chicken sandwich and it's like almost dripping with grease. Like, it was just not.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a good meal that you enjoy, that tastes good, that's well prepared. Like, I got a cheeseburger for the first time in however long.
Yeah.
It's 2 pieces of bread with something in the middle. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
Wasn't good. Well, it just wasn't good. LFG says Mexican, Central American, and Cuban food's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Fat Jesus, as long as we have Red Lobster, life is good. Well, there you go. Brady Cook, I had really good Italian food when I was in New York.
See, that's what I mean. Like New York, Chicago, San Francisco. Like, I think one of the challenges is in Texas. Texas is so big as a state that you have these different like centers around the state for cities, And I think for a brand like Buka, it's so competitive within those centers that Buka's struggling to keep up. And that's why they're in this spot.
Giggity, I'm sorry. You want to go to Chicago to watch what? Well, we had contemplated. We're not going to go, but we had contemplated My wife's birthday is the first weekend of September, but we have a wedding that weekend. So we were going to go to Chicago to watch a pianist named Lang Lang, and he is going to perform with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And the Cubs happened to be hosting the Nationals that weekend. So we were going to go to the Cubs game Friday and Saturday, and on Saturday night go and see Lang Lang and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
And just phenomenal, right? Like just out of this. But that's the issue in Salt Lake. And I feel like I'm complaining about Salt Lake City. They want to tear down the Utah Symphony Orchestra Hall. It's called a Bravenel Hall, to make way for Ryan Smith's taxpayer-funded project. And I just can't fathom it. I cannot fathom it. For a guy that wanted to leave Salt Lake City, Ryan Smith, now you're talking about tearing down one of the great arts and cultural venues. It definitely needs to be renovated. Like I was sitting there last night, there's not a lot of leg room for tall dudes. I'm 6'3", man.
Yeah.
But and I know it sounds foo-foo-y. I'm telling you, the symphony and the arts is a very important part of our society.
Yeah.
Whether you take advantage of it or not.
Super underrated in culture today.
James, come to DFW. You can live in the burbs, lots of restaurants, sports within driving distance, SMU, TCU, but we have to deal with your crazy Ted Cruz and your governor.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
And it's hot.
And hurricanes.
And you get hurricanes.
I'll pass.
You know, being able to catch a Cubs, Bulls, Bears, and Hawks game all in one weekend in October was the best. It was the best. And I think Mrs. Monty and I went to St. Louis one weekend and watched the Bears and the Cubs, and it was awesome. I need a trip. I need am I crazy for this? I probably am. And we've talked about this a lot, Mrs. Monty and I. We're thinking about going and living in different places for a month.
Mm-hmm.
We both work remotely. Like, we're thinking about going to Boston for a month. We're thinking about going to X, Y, and Z. I'm stoked about it. I'd absolutely do it. Bring the golf clubs, go experience some golf, some food, some culture. I'd be stoked to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the remote world provides you, luxuries. You know, when you can get into a situation where you can work from anywhere. That's kind of, you guys remember during the pandemic when that was there was like this wave on social media where people were just kind of like nomading across the country, working from wherever they were, and then just like seeing everything. And I think that will make a comeback.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where that nomad lifestyle is better than you think.
Yeah.
And the problem is we have a really good existence. Like me personally, I have very little overhead. I have low housing cost. My biggest overhead right now is probably my car. We have like a timeshare deal like we own at Weston.
Yeah.
First world problems, dude. Don't have credit card debt. Nothing. I have debt on my cars. I'm $200,000 in equity on my house right now. Like, I don't have problems.
Well, and I think
that's why it's hard to think about changing that.
I think too, and I want to be really careful how we phrase this, because I think it's important to say, like, you didn't luck into that situation. Nobody lucks into being in the situation you're in. You've worked your ass off to get into that situation.
No.
I think the thing, though, is that there are a lot of people who, you know, are still in the raising kids portion of life, or like are still paying off student loans, or like there's all these different factors. You know, every time we talk about like the economy and like how people are doing, like there's all these different factors. And I think every time I, you know, talk to people who are in your spot where like you have all this freedom, like if you're not going to be the person who goes and does that, who is, right? Like if you have the flexibility and the means to go out and see things, you should go out and see things.
But sorry to disappoint you, JD Vance. I also don't have kids.
Yeah.
I'm 51, going to be 52.
Yeah.
Very healthy, make a good living. I am free to do what I want. The problem is, like, Eric and Raleigh's like, time to move back to Phoenix. Hell no. Never again.
See, why would
never again.
Everybody, Phoenix is this interesting market where you've got the professional sports, and on the surface, it's like, all right, cool, we'll live in Phoenix. Like, no hurricanes, like a little bit of weather here and there, but nothing crazy. It's just really hot. Like, big deal. But then you get there and you live there and you're like, damn, dude, like 125 for like a month on end is a little bit too much for me.
Jeremy Severe says Lang Lang is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Delaric, Baylor used to have great concerts here, but it hasn't been the same since 2020. Pandemic changed a lot. Boyd Lake, DFW gets hurricanes. Well, obviously the Gulf Coast of Texas gets hurricanes, but you get that residual moisture, don't you? Ask the Carolinas today about residual moisture.
Yeah.
Now, Texas has a set of circumstances that are...
I don't think Texas is a horrible place to live, okay?
Not at all.
I think that the thing with Texas is it's one of those places in our country where it's awesome in some ways and it really struggles in others. So it's awesome from a housing perspective. You see all these videos on social media about living out in some town in Texas where real estate's very attainable. It's very cheap. You can get a nice large plot of land with a big house on it for, $400,000. Like it has old world vibes in that sense. And I think that that's the cool thing about Texas is like you can get real estate, you can build a life there, you can raise a family there.
Yep.
But the problem for me is on premise alone, I can't see myself going and paying state tax to leadership in that state that does what they do. And frankly, doesn't do the things they should do. And I don't want to offend people, but that's my personal opinion. And I love Texas. I love the sports in Texas.
And it's hot.
And it's hot as hell. It's humid. Like, you're not wrong, Boyd. Like, yeah, DFW is not getting pounded constantly with hurricanes, but yeah, you are going to get the residual off the Cat 4 that happens to hit, the Gulf side of Texas. Like, that's going to happen. And so I think that the struggle is for those of us who, grew up in the Midwest or on the East Coast and went west, we have quickly learned that California is not attainable financially. Neither is Portland or Seattle, so we're not living on the West Coast per se. So we wound up in Salt Lake because we don't want to live in Vegas and we don't want to live in Phoenix. And Montana doesn't have much stuff happening, obviously.
Montana.
So you wind up in Salt Lake because Denver, Portland, Seattle, LA, San Francisco are all way too expensive. And you come to understand that, yeah, Salt Lake's a nice place to set up a home base.
Yeah.
But then you get into a spot like my guy here where you work hard, you put yourself in a good spot. You're like, all right, cool. What are we doing now? Well, we work remotely. Why don't we go and see different parts of the country? Why don't we go and instead of making it feel like a vacation, let's make it feel like a staycation where we're there for an extended amount of time and we get to ingratiate ourselves into the culture. And that's why I say if you have the means, you should do that.
Maury Alvarez, a member of the show for 19 months.
Okay, Maury.
If I'm choosing foreign food, Mexican is my go-to. Okay. Calford says, LA, if you don't mind the high taxes, traffic, occasional earthquake. Yeah, they had an earthquake last night. If I could live anywhere, I'd live in Huntington Beach. And everybody's like, oh, Monty, you're the lawless pricks out there. If you think California is not a nice place to live, you've never been to California.
Yeah.
The weather, the culture, the sports.
The whole vibe is just amazing.
But it's so unaffordable.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't.
Again, much like Texas, you have to be willing in California to say, yeah, I'm willing to deal with the fact that probably for most people, probably 50% or more of your income is going to your housing cost, right? Like if you make $5,000 a month, $3,000 of that's going to housing costs at a minimum.
And my wife looked at a job in LA recently and we were like, nah, you're paying $1 million to get what I have now, to get the house, the studio, like to get the setup that I have now from a real estate perspective, I'd be probably $1.5 million.
So much.
It's wild. And you'll never make that money back. That you'll never make that money back.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that if you move to Eric, if you move to California, you're permanently in debt. Period. You're permanently in debt.
Oh.
It just is the way it is. Lopes fan Gabe, 3 months of Phoenix Heat. Fat Jesus, you're hilarious. May through October now is longer than 3 months. Well, and that's one of the reasons we left, because the heat was getting longer and it was getting hotter. And trust me, man, I had a beautiful home on South Mountain in South Phoenix. Hated the crime. We left because of the heat and the water. The water is a real issue in Arizona. And we made a killing on our house in Phoenix, but we left because of the heat.
Yeah.
Like right now you can't play golf. And you know the worst part about golf in Phoenix is when it does get cool enough to go play golf, greens fees double. Like they go it's just a tough place.
Yeah.
To be outside constantly. And the setup I have now, I'm outside every day. Like whether I'm in my backyard working on golf, walking around downtown Salt Lake last night. Do you know how hard it is in peak heat season in Phoenix to just walk down the street? To just go on a walk.
Yeah.
You don't do that in the middle of summer. You don't leave your house. You're so air conditioned. That was one of the things that really wore me out at the end in Phoenix. You're constantly in air conditioning.
Yep.
You never open your windows with a cool breeze.
You get out of the car,
man,
when you're going to the office, and just from the car to your seat in the office, you're already sweating. And then you've got to cool yourself down in the AC. And then your allergies and your nasal situation, depending on who you are, could get aggravated by the AC. And so it's just a tough spot.
And you're not as healthy. Like, to my wife's credit, and I always tell you I married way over my head, she used to go in the middle of summer and like hike South Mountain.
Yeah.
And I will tell you without question, I am absolutely a healthier person. I told you, I just got my physical this week. Healthy as a whore last week, I guess. It's only the 7th. Last week, healthy as a horse, much to your disappointment. Like I was not healthy. I was probably 30, 40 pounds heavier in Phoenix because you're not outside doing stuff. You're not walking, you're not playing golf, you're not going to the driving range. Like,
yeah,
you got and it's great when it's cool and it's 70 and sunny every day. Part of November, December, January, February, you get to March, like this year at spring training, dude, it was hot. It's spring, and I have Cubs spring training tickets in Mesa. It was hot. I worry about the atmosphere. Lopes, everything under 105 is all good. That I will agree with.
Yeah.
100 and under, really, you're cooking with gas, right? LFG, Vikes, great Steve Jordan, dad Cam Jordan went to South Mountain High School. Yeah, we used to see Cam Jordan at Whole Foods all the time.
Yeah.
My cousin does that. Her and her husband live in Utah. She's a travel nurse half of the year. She lives in LA. Her husband is in the Navy, so he's gone for weeks on end. They Airbnb their home. It's a revenue stream. Now, my wife and I have talked about this. I would have a hard time putting my house on Airbnb. I love my house. Having managed Airbnbs and being an Airbnb superhost and all that stuff, like, I know what people do to houses.
Yeah.
And now the squatter scams and I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for you guys, the only thing that makes sense would be longer term rental, like, leasing to someone would be, that would make sense.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I count my lucky stars every day to be as healthy as I am and to be like, I just feel really lucky, right? To be as active as I am, to eat as well as I do. Like, I feel like I need to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I go through this renaissance every year about this time because every year I get my physical. Like when I had my colonoscopy, if you're a long time, last year when I got my colonoscopy, I was really, really happy about that. Like that was to have no polyps, to have a perfect colonoscopy. Like it just, you have to take advantage of it. You have to leverage your health. You have to get out and do things. You need to go travel. You need to go see things. Like another thing we talk about all the time is like, I'm not accumulating possessions anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to go and do things. And I think it is anymore. Nothing's guaranteed in the world, man. Nothing's guaranteed. And you might wake up one day and your life's completely different. I don't want to be that guy. So that's why I'm always thinking about,
for sure.
Let's go and do things. Because it's just too, it's just too, Jim Brown says it's the same as you do to buffets. What are you talking about?
Yeah, who
eats does anybody eat at buffets anymore? When's the last time we ate at a buffet? We don't even go to buffets in Vegas anymore.
Jim is hating.
Why do you say that?
You look at his next comments.
Start by doing jumping jacks. Okay. You want to put my health up against your health? I'll do that any day of the week. Any day of the week. I've always said Monty has a perfect colon. And I love guys like Jim Brown because you have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're never here. This is the first time I've ever heard of you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. I live near Waco. I can drive less than 4 hours and see Dallas sports, Texas, but you got to drive 4 hours. Texas A&M, Houston, and San Antonio. You can see the Big 12, SEC, and ACC games. There's also like, how far is too far to drive?
Just generally speaking, for like trips.
Yeah, if I want to go away for a weekend, if I want to go down to St. George and play golf,
that's not too far.
That's not too far.
No.
If I want to go to Vegas for a weekend,
flight is awfully appealing.
5 hours is a long drive. 5 hours is a long drive. Yeah.
I mean, we've done Salt Lake to LA several times. We've done, LA to Vegas. They're long drives. There's no doubt.
Whoa, Fat Jesus. I'm on a cruise to Cozumel and was just eating at a buffet. I can't think of the last time I ate at a buffet.
Several years ago, I think was the last time I ate at a buffet, and it was the Mandalay breakfast we did. That was like 5 years ago, maybe.
Years, dude. Like, I can't think of a time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big buffet guy, just generally speaking. I don't really enjoy that style of dining. Like, if I'm going to go, again, the pandemic changed everything, right? Like, so if I'm going to go out to eat, I really enjoy going somewhere that is definitely pricier, but you get that experience, and that's really what you're paying for, is to get like a 4-course meal and like have good drinks, have a good time. So that's generally what I feel like going out has turned into, is that whole thing. So I really do think it's been like 4 or 5 years since I've seen a buffet.
Maury Alvarez, last time I ate at a buffet was on a cruise.
See, and like, that's fine.
Never
like,
been on a cruise.
I've never been on a cruise, but like, if the cruise is like, hey, we have the buffet, that's how we're going to serve food. I get that.
Eric and Raleigh, more than 2 hours to drive a sporting event is my limit. I kind of am with you on that.
Yeah, who are you? The Cardinals sitting in Glendale?
Yeah, the drive home. Yeah, seriously. The drive home is too much. UW fan Jim Roma Dunze, how are you, my guy? Why read non-member comments? They usually suck. Yeah, I shouldn't. Every day I say that. Because generally, you guys, I think, know this. We generally only read member comments. Unless you're a long time, or we generally only read member comments. You wind up getting into the weeds with guys.
Yeah.
Who, and again, guys like whatever, John or Jim or Steve, calling me fat, knock yourself out, dude. Do you think you're original with that? Think you're the first one? Man, that's groundbreaking. You are, wow.
You're the best, dude.
My doctor called me fat last week at my physical. Like, you have no idea. Like, and the funny thing is, when it comes to health, it's naive guys like that who just, they expose themselves to you. They tell, well, okay. They reveal themselves.
Look, Preston Stone, take it easy.
They reveal themselves. Brady Cook. How about the golf game? How's the golf game been? Also went the other day, shot 3 over. I'm playing pretty well, actually. I'll be at Canyons. I'm playing 3 rounds this week. I'm playing, obviously, my Friday night 9. Canyons on Saturday. Then Mrs. Monty and I are going to Old Mill on Sunday. So it's all right. I'm working on my golf game. It's funny. I work on my irons a lot. Now I'm hitting my irons really well, and my driver is. I got to get the thing. I finally figured out the angle with my lead wrist. Like, there's just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
The golf game is always a work in progress.
Work in progress.
I'm driving to San Diego on Friday, coming back on Sunday, 6 hours each way. Well worth it for the Mexican food, too.
Okay, see, so San Diego is a little bit different of a scenario. San Diego is one of those towns where it's worth it for the drive. You understand that La Jolla sunsets, Cafe Coyote, like, that there are things there that make that worth it. But,
Mrs. Monty and I used to drive when we lived in Orange County. We would drive down to La Jolla, catch a sunset. Like, we had some really good weekend staycations in San Diego, but there's nothing like going down, catching a Padre game, going to Old Town, getting some Coyote Cafe, Mexican food. San Diego's a great town. It's expensive. I know a lot of people who live in San Diego. It's bucks, but
yeah.
Fat Jesus, we need to bring back the huge salad bar. I miss, I can't remember the name of it. The salad bar eat out restaurant where you could go and get like fresh salad, and I miss that. Waco to Austin is 2 hours.
I also think if you grow up and you spend a lot of time in Texas, driving hours on end is palatable because the state is just so big. You have to do that.
Kim Coulter, hell, I don't even get mine red. Get your what red? Do tell. Lamont Tucker, I just ate at a buffet last week in Vegas. Which one? I think breakfast buffets in Vegas are undefeated. It's probably been too long. We're usually, now when we're in Vegas, we're usually staying at a Westin property. So usually we either eat in our room or we don't. I don't know. I don't love eating out anymore. And I bitch about it on the show all the time, probably too often. I think it goes like when I don't eat oats for breakfast in the morning, and I eat oats every day. When I don't eat oats, I miss it. When I don't have, my wife made this phenomenal salad the other night with like salsa and like peppers. Like, it was really good. Like, and then last night we go down to the Symphony and you eat at Seven Brothers and you're like, this food sucks.
Yeah,
dude.
It sounds like it was trash. Like,
it sucks. Like, because I don't eat fast food. I just don't.
It sounds like it's more of a quality issue than an experience.
It is a quality issue.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drag me into a Super Chicks once in a while, that food never sucks.
Yeah.
But you go to the one-off place, the problem is you can't trust it anymore. If you're just walking, like last night, we were looking for a place to eat before we went to the Symphony. So we were walking through downtown Salt Lake, is what it is. We took a chance on this Seven Brothers place. You can't take a chance anymore because you just can't trust the quality of the food.
Right.
Fat Jesus, only members can call Monty fat. Exactly right. And I think we have to, in this country, stop believing that everybody's unhealthy who looks a certain way or does a certain, like, until we embrace the fact that every human being is different. And I tell you, go and get your blood checked. Like, I put all my blood results on my Instagram story last week. My A1C is perfect. My cholesterol is perfect. Like, I'm just really, really lucky that my DNA is good, but I also do a bunch of shit to bulletproof that. I eat a ton of fiber every day. I take my vitamin regimen every single day and have for over a decade. I don't drink soda.
Yeah.
I drink water, Gatorade Zero, and an energy drink a day. Like, I've even cut back to one energy drink a day. My energy drink doesn't have sugar in it. Like, you have to do things anymore to bulletproof that, right? Because your DNA usually isn't enough to keep you alive for 100 years. And those of us that want to live to be 100, you got to do stuff. You also have to be really active.
Yeah.
The days of sitting on the couch are over. So for me, playing golf, walking around walking all over Boston was amazing. That was so much fun. That's another thing. I would love, at some point before I'm dead, I am going to either live at higher altitude, and I already live at 4,500 feet here. Sitting in our studio, I am at 4,730 feet. I'd love to go live up at Empire Pass in Park City. I'll do that one day.
For the view or
for being at altitude? Living at altitude is better for you.
Oh.
There's no doubt about it. But you look at things like golf. Every time I golf, I walk 10,000 steps.
Yeah.
Every time I golf, usually my rounds are 3.5, 4 hours. It's 2,000 calories and 10,000 steps. That's helped me lose weight. There's no doubt. If you're a long time, go back to 3 years ago on this channel. You just can't sit around and think that something's going to change. It's the Wegovy Ozempic conversation we always have.
Yeah.
I think that's bullshit. I think, yes, are you going to lose weight on Wegovy, semaglutide? Yes, you are. But you're hitting the easy button, and that's not the only thing you can do. Because if you take Ozempic and you sit on the couch, it's not going to work out well for you. And if you take Ozempic or Wegovy and you still eat like shit, you're not going to be healthy. You'll be thinner. You won't be healthy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy to me that people want to lose weight, but you'll still sit on the couch. Just go for a half-hour walk every day. Just start there, right? Just put one foot in front of the other. Anyway, I digress. This is why we don't talk about that. This is why we get into it. Kim Coulter, do you walk or ride in a cart? Both. It depends.
Yeah, it's course dependent.
It's very course dependent how much you wind up walking.
At canyons, you're not allowed to walk because it's a mountain course, so you have to take the
cart.
Yeah,
you can't walk at canyons.
But at canyons, the other dynamic that's at play is that with the GPS on their carts, they limit where you can take the cart. So there's many times, almost, I would say, excluding the par threes, which I think there's only 3 of them on the course. Maybe there's a 4th, can't remember. But most every hole, you essentially have to drive the cart path and walk out. So yeah, you're taking the cart, but you're walking a lot of that round.
You are.
And you're at, I don't know if you've ever checked or you know the number. It's like 8,000 feet, 7,000 feet or whatever it is. So
7,200 feet.
You're working your ass off.
Yep. Eric and Raleigh, I take compounded semaglutides, drop 40 pounds, but I backslid on my diet, so I'm maintaining where I'm at. I think people think the semaglutide thing is an easy button. And it is. You're going to lose weight, but you have to eat well. All right, a couple more, then we got to go. Final one will be Fat Jesus. I used to eat nachos while watching The Biggest Loser. That show. You guys remember that? The Biggest Loser was amazing. Like, they would beat your ass 3 workouts a day. You're on like these crazy cardio runs. And then so it was this weight loss show. They would take morbidly obese people, put them on this show, bust their ass in the gym. Like, it was 3-a-day workouts. And they would really tailor a nutrition plan for you. And these people would be losing weight. Like, they'd be dropping all this weight. And then they go to the weigh-ins, because every show ended with a weigh-in. And they didn't lose weight, or they would gain a pound. And the serious music would come on.
The scale, because the scale it wasn't like a normal scale where it just gives you the number. It's like,
no,
for
the drama
show,
thing.
It would tick up, and it would make this noise like beep, 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 beep. With the music, it would just build this thing, and then you would come in like 1 pound overweight. The music would stop, and the camera would pan over to whoever your coach was, and the coach would just be
devastated,
like, just crushed,
fucking over,
just terrible.
And the person who gained weight would be like, "I snuck Oreos. I'm terrible. Oh, I had to have those cheese curds." And it would just be like the end of the world that they gained. You gained 0.3 of a pound, you son of a bitch!
Get your ass on the treadmill.
It was the craziest show. It was the craziest show ever.
Would never fly in today's culture.
Never, ever. It just is not. I'm telling you. It is the excuses that people used to come up with. I'm on my period, bro. It's hemorrhoids.
Monty.
Did you cheat? What? Well, I have cravings. I am menstrual.
And pardon me.
The chips jumped into my mouth while I was sleeping.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it?
It's the goddamn carbohydrates. That show was so crazy, dude. That show was, absolutely wild. All right, the Monty Show is always presented by The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Hook it up. You guys, be careful out there. Please, driving is taking your life into your hands. And again, we have seen so many semi-truck accidents lately. Please be careful. You're on the roads. You get in an accident. Get to theadvocates.com. You can chat with an injury attorney 24/7, 365. It won't cost you a dime. At theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.